What's up, everybody, and welcome to Off the Shelf Movie Night. I'm Steven, and I'm here to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays and DVDs and 4Ks. I don't really do VHS anymore, but hey, if you still got a player and you get it, great. I love physical media. I love packaging. I love special features, and I'm actually a collector who likes archive quality, library quality releases. I don't buy everything, but I buy things that are in that area. They give me great bonus features, great packaging, and a great audio-video presentation, or some aspect of that. A lot of times I've had to buy things that have Atmos sound and 4K presentation, but are limited in packaging and bonus features, and that's fine. I just need to have the best that I can get. If you've been following me, then you know that a vast majority of my collection was stolen and during the building of this space you see here. So now I'm working really hard to try and recover those films and get my collection back to where it once was. Today I want to talk to you about a hot button issue about the death of physical media. It seems like an appropriate time because we have Black Friday coming up, and I'm already making my list as far as those 4K and Blu-ray sales I want to hit and upgrade my collection. So it just brings to mind, is physical media dying? It's a constant conversation between collectors and streaming aficionados, people who don't collect at all anymore and just are all digital on their films. So I thought I would share my thoughts and opinions on the death of physical media. First thing I want to say is there are a lot of YouTube shows out there that have predicted the future of physical media and either, supported the death or said that the death of physical media is happening or said that there's no way it'll never happen. I just want to say one thing. We are all armchair analysts. We're all armchair analysts. In other words, we're not pro analysts that are involved in the market and follow the trends of dollars spent versus dollars cost and all of this stuff. All we can do is look at our experiences in collecting physical media and what we've seen in the world and sort of give you a prediction of what we think is going to happen. So, you have to sort of just look at what we have to say, and if you're really into it, it's really important to you, then go to business journals and that kind of thing and really read up and see if that matches with what you see. Obviously, as collectors, we all hope that physical media is not dead. But it sure is a lot smaller than it once was. So let's talk about this. The first thing I want to do is compare physical media with vinyl, because this is what happens all the time is people who talk about physical media will compare it to the death of the vinyl, like the record. And I don't necessarily think that is a fair comparison. There are definitely similarities, but there's a lot more that goes into film on physical media than music. Now, what people lost with the death of vinyl was the amazing artwork, sometimes big fold-out album covers and that kind of thing. They lost that, and they definitely lost quality. You still, even compared to what the great technology that we have happening with MP3 today, you still don't have that warmth, that sort of analog reality that is in the album. That can't be replicated. It's kind of like film grain. If you're someone who appreciates film, you can see always the difference between a film shot digitally and a film shot on film. It's just something that can't be replicated. There's digital film grain, but it's patterned, and you can just see it. And it makes no sense because it's not natural. Why would you create it if it's not natural? Film grain is something that happens naturally in film. And that warmth is something that comes naturally in music. So that's things that they lost. Now, our history tells us that we will sacrifice quality for cost and convenience. We've seen this with the death of vinyl as we moved into cassettes and more so into CDs, but we've seen it in film too. The first physical media for film came in two flavors. It came in VHS and Beta. Beta was better quality. VHS was cheaper. And we saw this again with HD DVD and Blu-ray later on. HD DVD was better quality. Blu-ray, while not cheaper, had a much higher lockdown security-wise, and it was basically forced upon us by the larger studios. So quality isn't always enough, sadly, to keep us locked into the best option. But with film, with music, it's a single song sometimes, it's 4 minutes. Or if you've got 10 songs, maybe it's 45 minutes. Whereas film, you've got at least a minimum of an hour, mostly an hour and a half to 3 hours. And it's a visual and audio presentation. And nowadays, it also includes bonus features and, of course, great packaging, too. Great artwork. So I feel like there's a lot more riding on movies and TV than there was music, and it's a different market. So people wanted to be able to listen to music in their cars and that kind of thing. Now people want to be able to watch movies on their iPad and their phone, it's crazy to me because I'm a film fan and a filmmaker, and that's just not the way to appreciate film. But history tells us that that's the way things go. Convenience is key. Convenience and cost are key. So to get into physical media, 1997 was kind of an important year because that was the first year a DVD player was released. It was also the founding year of Netflix. So by the early 2000s, we had sort of hit the golden era of home video. DVD was selling like hotcakes. Netflix was doing a rental plan. I think it was, it was like three DVDs a month, and there was a certain monthly cost. And that began sort of the slow destruction of the video store. But that was a high point in home video that I don't think we'll ever see again. It's an illusion, though, that if you think that people were having huge collections like what we do, you viewing this and me, it wasn't the case. A DVD was riding high on a success of a lot of people buying a little bit. You would have families who bought up Disney movies. Now, yeah, they might have a lot because the Disney movie on DVD became a babysitter. But as far as regular film, like adult film, not adult film, you know what I mean? I meant regular film. They would have a few copies of things that matter to them. Classics, There might be a copy of Close Encounters of the Third Kind and a copy of Jaws and maybe a Western. My dad would have Westerns, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that kind of thing. But no one, was buying huge collections like us. But that's all it takes is a lot of people buying a little, and pretty soon you've sold a lot. You've created a multi-billion-dollar industry. So as Netflix transitioned into streaming, suddenly people who bought a little had access to a lot for what was at that point a small monthly cost. And then in the mid-2000s, we had basically a pretty big financial crash. People stopped spending extra money on things like DVDs, but they could spend $8 or $9 a month on Netflix. So that again also played into sort of the decline of the home video market that started many years ago. At the same time, Netflix destroyed video stores. Blockbuster closed their last corporate store in 2014. There is still one Blockbuster open. The last Blockbuster in the world, I believe, is in Bend, Oregon. And apparently they do a reasonable, brisk business of renting movies still. Just pretty cool. But I also think they survive on the tourist aspect of it. They have these shirts and hats and bottle huggies that all say we're the last Blockbuster and that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people, me included, one day I'm going to go there, would like to go and set up an account and just have a Blockbuster video card membership in their wallet again. I just think there's a lot of nostalgia there, and they're existing on that. So, we have Netflix destroy. I've got notes here, by the way, if you hear that. I just want to sort of try and keep myself focused because I tend to rattle on about this. And I know I'm actually preaching to the choir here. We're all physical media collectors, so none of us want to see the death of physical media, but we need to look at it realistically about what's happening and have our eyes open to what's coming, and again, as I said, my opinion, it's educated opinion, but it's still opinion. So Netflix also brought us something new with their streaming service. They brought us binge watching. It started with TV shows from different distributors like Paramount and Warner Brothers and that kind of thing. But we could go on Netflix and just binge watch an entire series if we wanted. And then they began releasing their own shows, and it became a pretty serious thing to be able to spend the weekend binge watching the newest release. For me, at this point, it's really only Stranger Things. It's really the only thing I binge watch. But I bring this up because I believe that the old adage that history repeats itself. I believe that, and I believe the creative media, whether it's music or film, is constantly running in a circle. So keep this in mind as we go through this. So now we have binge watching. And at the same time, we've been begging for years, please give us a la carte. We wanted the cable and satellite companies to give us a la carte. We wanted to be able to just get the channels and shows that we want to see. We don't want all of the other supplementary channels that actually help pay for keeping the service going in a lot of ways. And they were built into the contracts. We didn't want all that. I didn't want it either. Netflix began to offer an opportunity for cord cutting because you could watch a lot on Netflix. You didn't see a lot of new things, so it wasn't a perfect scenario, but it was getting there, and we're there now. So finally, many years later, we have basically what we begged for. We wanted this a la carte opportunity. Well, now guess what? We have it. We have Hulu, we have Netflix, we have the Peacock coming, we have Amazon Prime, we have Shudder, we have Cinemax, Showtime, all of these, everything is a la carte now, and we can just subscribe to what we want to subscribe to and just see the shows that we want to see. But in order to be competitive, Apple TV is now out with their service. All of these shows up their game as far as content creation. So now we want to see shows on everything. So here comes the circle. So we begin to subscribe to each thing a la carte, and we're back at the same cost and more than we were originally with something like DirecTV. What are we doing now? We're looking for bundles. And Disney Plus at its launch offered us that best scenario so far. You subscribe to Disney Plus, you can get ESPN Plus and Hulu all in one package. So a lot of people are taking advantage of this. So now all of a sudden we are looking at these bundles, and I know that AT&T and Warner Brothers are looking at some opportunities. I've been reading that a lot of bundle packaging opportunities are coming. So all of a sudden, streaming media and digital media and broadcast media, it's all coming around in a circle. Now, the cable companies and watching film and shows on TV is really what pushed the physical media to the forefront. We wanted to be able to watch films the way we want to watch them, when we want to watch them, and how we want to watch them. So DVD, in particular, offered us that opportunity. So now we're finding our way back to that space. So much so that the binge watching is starting to go away, and we're going back to a one episode a week of whatever show is coming out. This is the way Disney is doing all of their new shows, one episode a week. It makes more sense from a marketing perspective. If you release your entire season in one day, then you have this buildup of press coming up to the release. Then for about a week, you have people talking about it. It's in the zeitgeist. People, it becomes a water cooler thing until everyone's binged it, and then it goes away for a year or longer until the next season comes out. Whereas if we're doing one show a week, it becomes a water cooler show. People talk about it every week for months. And that gets attention to that streaming service and possibly more subscribers. It's just basic marketing. So this was bound to happen. So we're sitting here, we're watching streaming make a complete circle and wondering, how does physical media play into this? What is the survival rate of this format, this thing that we love? So, along with the binge watching sort of going away, the other thing that's going away is being able to watch shows that we love all in one place, because everyone's starting their own service, because Warner Brothers wants a piece of the pie. If they're not going to sell you a DVD or a Blu-ray, they want you subscribing to their service and watching their product that way. So things like The Office and Friends and whatnot are leaving Netflix and going to different services. I call it contract jumping. So from one day to the next, you never know if said service that you're paying for is going to have the shows that you want, other than whatever their new release show is. So this is becoming expensive. And again, I look back and I say the easiest thing to do is to buy the box set. But the mentality of current media viewers is not that. They feel that the convenience, again, as I said, the convenience is more important. So they're subscribing to everything, and it's going to take a while for them to see the cost difference. Quality does not matter to most people, sadly. It's huge to me. It is the reason I collect. But to your average viewer, quality doesn't matter. It's, can I watch it on my iPad laying in bed, or on the train, or on the plane, or whatever. So that also leads me to a difference in the kind of media that we're ingesting now. Now, this can come off crotchety, so I'm going to try and be as clear as I can about this. What we have now is a lot of what I call disposable media. It's like cotton candy. It's really tasty at the time, but you're not talking about it years later. You know, the best steak you ever had, the most delicious fish you ever had, you might talk about that for 10 years and continue sending people to that restaurant or wherever it was. But cotton candy, oh, you know, I was here and I had it and it was good and whatever, and I forgot about it. That is what's happening with media now. And I'm not saying that because creators are less capable. It's because studios need to fill a void. They need to keep you subscribed. So in order to keep you subscribed, content needs to be constantly coming. So the time invested in art direction, in costuming, and all the minor, tiny little details that really make something unique. Oh, we'll just do it in CG. We'll just do it in green screen instead of building the set, because we can get it done a lot faster. And I only fault the media for that, and at the same time I fault us because of our need and hunger for convenience. Here's an example. When we look at a film like The Matrix, when this film came out, it was groundbreaking. This changed the way science fiction films were made. Camera techniques, look and feel, and use of music, all of that, for 20 years after this film came out, changed because of what was done with this film. Now we take a look at this film, Aquaman. Let me get this on the screen. There you go. It's a fun movie. It's good. It's fun. You know, when I saw it, it was fun. When you saw it, it was fun. Will we be talking about it in 20 years as something that was a classic, that was groundbreaking, that had impact, that mattered? No. No. We will not. Is it something you'll watch as many times as The Matrix? Well, sure, it's going to have its fans. And if you have kids, you will probably play it a lot because kids can watch it. But it's not a classic. We still get classics. Thank goodness for Christopher Nolan, for example. He makes classics. Dunkirk is a film that we will talk about in 25 years as something that was groundbreaking and beautiful and game-changing and important. But we don't get as many of those films because in order to output product, and this includes theatrically and on streaming, budgets have to come down. The amount of time put toward a film has to come down. It has to come out quicker. So they don't have the time to do what needs to be done to make a quality film. Dr. Sleep is a great example. Dr. Sleep in theaters right now is the sequel to the book and the film The Shining, two very different entities. You have to give that director credit. He had to bring the book and the film together in this sequel, and they're different. They're hugely different. If you haven't read the book, you should. But the film is something that's been talked about for 40 years. It continues to influence filmmakers and storytellers today. Dr. Sleep in 40 years will be forgotten, other than it's the sequel to a film made 80 years ago that will still be impacting creators. This is my point. So we have creators that are capable of doing it, but they're just not. And I think that when we have disposable media, it's easy to just watch it on streaming and move on. If you look at something like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, they focus on the last 10 years or so. Because everything is disposable, no one's paying attention to the classics on those services the way they used to on physical media, and still do on physical media. So that has impacted physical media, and that begins to create the feeling of the death of physical media. It's impacted it in the way that you go to Best Buy and they have no catalog titles. Everything that's in Best Buy is within the last few years. And there's less of it. Same at Walmart, same at Target. That has brought on the creation of the boutique distributor, which is something that is very special for us collectors. The boutique distributor buys the rights to catalog titles from studios, releases it, and pays back a royalty or whatever their agreement is. The studio doesn't have to worry about it. Arrow Video, Synapse Films, Vinegar Syndrome, Shout Factory, all of these great boutique distributors are getting these classic films and releasing them on physical media in a premium format. Kino Lorber and Mill Creek are two companies that I question because I don't always feel like they give us the best transfers and audio, but they're giving us access to those films, and a lot of times they give us really good bonus features to go with them, so we can still have them on our catalog and watch them when we like. Now, most of these distributors don't sell much in brick and mortar, and that in that respect, the death of physical media is definitely happening. I would say in 5 years, you go to Best Buy and all that'll be in there is the new release steelbooks. So we'll be moving online to order physical media, and generally I'm okay with that. I hate it. I like to bin shop, but music died that way too. When's the last time you bin shopped CDs? Bin shopping is going to die. But that doesn't mean physical media is going to die, because we have a company like Criterion or Arrow giving us such premium versions of films. They're better than we could have ever hoped for. So it's still there. It's gonna shrink. Physical media sales are going to shrink down to the collector, and that means they're going to be more expensive, which they already are, and they're going to be premium, which is great. So from a collecting perspective, it's fine. It saddens me because I miss it like I miss the video store. But as long as I can get these films and you can get them, then we just have to wait for the circle to come around. Because as streaming media becomes more like traditional broadcast media, people are going to start looking to be able to watch and own their products the way they used to. And it'll make a comeback just like vinyl did. That's what I think is going to happen. That is my feeling. I'm an armchair analyst, just like I said at the beginning of this. So take it as you will, but that is what I feel like is going to happen. The last thing I want to say is this. This internet culture that we have now finds our friends, people that care about us, supposedly, taking some weird joy out of the death of physical media if they are not a collector. And I don't understand why. I have my own friends who just take joy in telling me to get over it, physical media is dead. I don't understand that. I don't take joy out of people losing something that they love, but that is our internet culture. So the only thing I can hope is if you have people like that in your life, that maybe this episode gives you some talking points to defend the thing that you love, and you can just sit back and wait, just like I'm going to do, until the circle comes around and we end up winning again. The last thing about this, I think I already said the last thing, but just the Steve Jobs, just one more thing, just like Steve Jobs, is who really wins with the death of physical media? Is it the consumer because of convenience, or is it the studio? It's Hollywood. It's the studios that win. A lot of people don't know this, but Hollywood never wanted movies to come out on home video. They never wanted movies to come home. In the old days, before there was VHS, every time you watched a movie, a broadcast outlet paid money to that studio. So every single time that movie was broadcast, they got paid again. Once VHS was created, they only got paid once when you bought a copy of that film, and that's it. And that's why initially you would pay $100 for a VHS of something. So they never wanted this to happen. And when digital media started, they were afraid of it for a long time because of piracy. But once they settled in, now they see we're back to that hope that so many of those old crotchety executives had, that every time we play something we pay. Because guess what we do? We pay monthly. Even with something like Shudder, it's $4.99 a month. That's not bad. But if I own those movies over the long term, it's going to be cheaper, I'm going to have better quality, and I'm going to have more bonus features. Again, it's always convenience over quality for the mainstream. So I hope this gave you some things to think about, some things to use in your own battles with people who want to see the death of physical media. And what do you think? Is physical media going to die? Is it dead already? What are we going to do? What is your suggestion? What should we do? Are we just going to go out and buy everything we can now because in a year it's going to be gone? Or are we good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And in the meantime, pull something off the shelf. Bring some friends over, pop some popcorn, and have a great time watching some cool media. I'll see you on Black Friday.